Hello. Good afternoon. This is Malar from Hearts&Minds Development Center. Welcome to Being Whole, Being Me once again. And can you believe it? It's already the last session for the month of January. So, how do we end January? I think we started off with, Happy New Year, wanting new stuff. And I'm not too sure that you would agree with me that, if you've gone through whole of January and still wondering, has the year started? What am I going to do differently? Perhaps what we need is a little bit of curiosity. All right. And I'm not too sure whether you've met our guest today, Vernon Adrian Emuang. I hope I have pronounced his name correctly because otherwise he's going to slash me. He's already slashed me many times because I didn't get it right. So without any delay, let's have fun and be curious and be creative with Vernon. And as I bring him, or let's bring him first, and then we tell what's actually happening. Hi, Reg. I know you're saying wow, and I'm assuming it's about my necklace, but I better bring Vernon up. Where is Vernon? Vernon, welcome.
Hi.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm thank you for having me, Mala. It's I've been following your episodes and I think you're doing a great job spreading the joy of insights, personal insights of some very interesting people, and I hope I can help contribute in my way. So thank
Oh,
you.
really? Let's. So, is humility a part of your values?
Is what? Sorry?
I
Humility?
yeah. Are you humble?
I would like to think I am, but maybe I'm not in the eyes of people like you.
Because
No, but
there's an
yeah, well,
echo.
because I'm curious that I might stuff it up somewhere along the line. Who knows, right? Life is so unpredictable.
That's why we bring you on board because you're so different and so bold. So a little bit about Vernon. How did I meet Vernon? Many years ago. I don't know how long ago is that, right? I
Good God.
was doing debate theater, and I think Reggie was part of it. So okay, Reggie is curious about Vernon too. So I thought she was saying, "Wow, because of my necklace." No, it's about Vernon. Now, Reggie was part of the debate theater, and
Right? Yes, of course.
I think we were in the same group when we were supposed to act out something. But I looked at you and I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy is so good. And I felt so intimidated. Of course, yes,
Oh,
at that moment, I thought you were intimidating me. But I know I was intimidated by your awesomeness now.
oh,
Fascinating. And then I bumped into you again in Clubhouse,
the audio app.
audio app. And every time I'm in your session or when you
Right.
come into my session, then it's
Okay.
like, whoa, right? Fantastic. So well, then let's quickly get it. I know there's an echo, Gerald. Thank you very much. I'm going to see what to do to fix it. I'm not too sure what's happening. So what we're going to do is, when I'm going to just put you on screen so that I can try and get rid of the echo. So Kirtana, take me
Mm-hmm.
off the screen for a bit. Just put Vernon. Vernon, so the first thing about you is that we know that you are an amazing person.
Oh, enough already. Let me
No,
see
we
if I
know,
can.
but we don't know why you're amazing. So tell us a little bit about your journey as to where you've been. Oh, the echo is gone. Oh, you're muted. No, I can't hear you, Vernon. Vernon? Okay, Vernon, I'm curious now why I can't hear you. Maybe put him and bring him back. Okay, so yes, he's back. Vernon, say hello. No.
Figure this one out.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
you're good.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the glasses are not good. Yes, now I like you.
My Daiso 690 glasses. Yeah.
I say, man, you just promoted Daiso. Okay, so
Oh, I
tell us.
love Daiso. Love it. Yep.
Okay, I
Uh,
love Daiso.
the-
But I love DIY more than Daiso, but that's not important. Now we're not curious about
okay.
Daiso and DIY, we're curious about you. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, what do you actually do, Lavanan? Who are you?
Yeah, I am actually still finding out myself, and I think that's part of my journey, which I enjoy. Who am I? Well, to give you a little bit of a background, I'm one of five sons in a family that came about because two Penang Serani Eurasians met in KL and had the five of us here. I'm the second son, and one of the reasons why I insist on my second name being used, Vernon Adrian Emuang. I say Vernon Emuang is somebody else. I am Vernon Adrian Emuang is because my first name is my mother's second name. My second name is my father's second name, and I'm the second son and second child. So I kind of like want to keep my name full to honor their memory, I guess, as well as the fact that most people find it difficult to pronounce both my first name and my last name. So Adrian is a bit of a lifesaver there for most people. And usually they call me Victor, Adrian, Among, or whatever, you know. They get the first name wrong, they mispronounce the second name, so at least they get the middle name okay. And also, and also, I figured that it was a little bit of an activism kind of like thing on my part to get people to realize that that how people identify themselves is important, who they are is important. So by kind of like promoting the idea that no, I want my name to be said in full, and if possible pronounced correctly, that'd be lovely. Yeah, I it's a bit of a little bit of a activism kind of thing, to get people to concentrate on the other person. I mean, not on me, but on the other person. So like they go, oh, okay, so the name is important. Okay, yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe so that's where I miss out on the humility side, but I hope to make up on yeah.
So you sacrifice your humility for identity
Yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely right.
experience.
Absolutely
Like
right. I love
exactly.
it. Beautiful.
How do I? How do we really pronounce your name correctly?
Vernon, Adrian, Among.
A
Among,
A
yeah,
more.
rhymes like a song, right? And is spelt with the Australian big bird in the front, EMU.
Okay.
Yeah,
A more.
yeah. It's not
All right.
pronounced the way it's spelt. That's where a lot of people trip up.
Ah,
So,
I understand that it's like my name, so I have to bring it in. So my name is Malar, but it's not pronounced.
Malar.
It's not
Yep.
spelled.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I like the fact that you said second name of your mom, second name of your dad, and you are the second in the family. So this year
Yep.
must be a very good year because there are all the twos in the year 2022. So there's your
Uh,
mom, you, and right.
yes. Yep.
So we're expecting a lot of exciting things this year. Now you have brought in quite a number of fans today,
Oh,
man.
have I?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you see? Okay, Regina is here for you. I know Gerald is here for me because he's here every week. Regina also for you and for me, but she says she's here for you today. Now, James, thank you, James. I'm going to assume you're here for me. Michelle is surely here for me. Hi, Michelle. I met Michelle yesterday in a talk show with Nicole. And so she's an amazing young lady. And James is there. Hey, Alia is there. Alia Karen is there. Hi, Alia. And that's that. So going back to your activism, how you sacrifice your humility, uh,
I love it. Yep.
right?
It's a big sacrifice. Okay.
I know, I
Take
feel
note.
it, feel it, right? I feel it when you speak in Clubhouse. I feel your humility. But more than feeling your humility, I feel the fire of your activism all the time whenever you speak,
Okay.
right? I'm sure you know that, right? So tell me, why do you find, because I often find you going to the space of
The space of identity, did you say?
talking about identity, right? In this running
Um,
around that you work. So tell us a little bit about your, I don't know, curiosity about why are you so curious about identity if you are curious? And what is it about this, the thing about identity that excites you or turn you on?
yeah, you are absolutely right that identity is an important aspect of my life. I run a website called Sarani Sembang, and it's turned into a clubhouse club where we talk about identity heritage in authentic chit chat. And the reason for that is because I struggled with my identity for the longest time. And once I found out how to position and locate myself in my family, in my community, in my society, in Malaysia, which is so rife with conflicts of identity, and now even in the world, um, I realized that maybe we should be able to have conversations about it. That if I assert my identity in a way that is graceful and compassionate, then maybe you might be able to also do that, and uh, in a sense, kind of like allow for the other person to be relevant in your life. And it's always about the other, because I mean, I'm Sarani Eurasian. Okay, I prefer to identify as Sarani because I feel Eurasian kind of like uh, uh, conveys biracialness, and I'm not biracial. And Sarani were Eurasian people who over many generations have been in this part of the world. So if you look at me, I don't look biracial. I don't know what I look like, but I definitely look like something that might be from this part of the world, like Cambodian or Burmese or Thai or Malay or Orang Asli, etc. Um,
Mm.
but I am not of this, or rather, my lifestyle is different from the location I'm in. And so, being this, you could say, minority throughout my life, I often struggled with, do I belong here? How can I claim this land as my motherland and stuff like that? And I landed on Sarani, and Sarani were the multi generational mixed race people that began with the Portuguese arriving here 500 plus years ago. So that helped me locate myself, and that's how my journey of identity began. Does that explain? Yeah. Let me know if I'm waffling.
No, you're not, but it doesn't
Okay.
explain because I know you've got a lot more depth that you're talking about. Because
Okay.
I'm trying to not disappoint the audience because we were supposed to talk about being curious and creative. I'm going to come
Okay.
to that. But I do think that the story behind your identity and who you are, because asserting. So I loved what you said about relocating, finding yourself and finding your space and owning the space is what
Yeah.
you're saying. And this
Yeah.
is, I think, I'm not sure, maybe the minorities, whoever see themselves as a minority in any space, probably experience it because when you're a minority, either you're celebrated or discriminated.
Yeah.
Right?
You.
If you're
Yeah.
seen as special, then you're celebrated. But if you're seen as the lesser human, then you're discriminated. And I think, depending on where you are, many of us would have either, experienced one of it, celebrated or discriminated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so and so that's why I find your voice not just fascinating, and I always say this to you that I'm very curious about you, I'm very fascinated with you, and I don't know you. And that's true because you bring so many dimensions in the spaces that you talk about. But
Oh.
I find
Hmm.
that it all comes back to the individual and the question of who am I, which then anchors back into identity, right?
Yeah.
Now, in your search, in your relocation, in your study of what I would call the history, to know where you come from, you've done I find that you do a lot to educate through Sarani Sembang, or in all the conversation, because what I find you're doing for me when I read your stuff is that you make me question, do I know enough of where I come from, what do I stand
Oh. Hmm.
for? Yeah, yeah. In a positive way, because I probably
Okay.
take
Good.
some parts of me for granted. And I have, right?
Hmm.
And so why do you remember when you became curious about who you are and why that is important for you and where it has brought you? So when did you become curious first, if you recall? And it doesn't have to be accurate. It's a sort of feel. when you became curious as to, like, what was the experience that set you thinking, like, I need to figure out who I am, and why is this journey important? Because I'm very sure it's not like all that easy, lah, right? Because I saw the poster that says, what the F does Vernon, Adrian, Emuang too, right? That, and where has it brought you? So yeah, I'll let you answer the three questions one by one, and don't worry, we'll start with when.
Okay, if I need to remember, then this would be perhaps my first memory. I was a little boy, and my parents would send me and my brother off to my grandparents' house. And when I remember when we arrived in the early days, the first few days of, or rather, it was a time when my grandfather emptied out a small, the cupboard below those old style dressing tables.
Yes.
And he said to me, "This is yours." And
Okay.
when he said to me, "This is yours," I was completely joyful. Like suddenly I had my own little cubbyhole where I could keep the colorful bus tickets that my auntie godmother gave me when she came home from work. Because I used to collect those colorful bus tickets. And it was like, someone's first piece of real estate when they buy real estate. That was the fee. And so I began to think like, well, I'm really happy. I'm really happy. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I guess it was because I asked myself, why was I happy? And it made me think that maybe it was because, yeah. But I've been curious as long as I can remember. That might have been the first moments of awareness of asking a question. Why are you giving me this?
Hmm.
And maybe my grandfather wanted me to feel a sense of belonging. And it was just a little cupboard, a little small cupboard, the base of those old dressing tables.
Right.
Um, but it was my space. And yeah, so I guess it was an assertion. I was being allowed to claim something, yeah. So that might be the first time where I thought, okay, this is mine. And I guess you want me to, yeah. So when I think back lah, but I've always been curious. I'm very capable, very
Yeah.
very capable. People say to me, did you find that boring or did you find this boring? And I say boring are for people with no imagination. You know that if you are bored, then you haven't found something to spark off, you know, something else. And so
Right.
I'm never bored. Like I went to study in Perth, and a lot of people said, "Was it boring?" And I go, "No, I had such a wild time." You know, I just knew where to go and who to meet and what to do, and I don't know. I talk to strangers. I yeah, I like to look at things and figure out how maybe they work or stuff like that. Yeah. So curiosity, because you asked me what I felt was important in order to do this chat, and I had to ask myself again and again, and then the word curiosity came out. Yeah. So and that has driven my work, my career, and my life basically. Yeah.
Mm.
Asking questions.
I am now curious. Define your wild input.
Okay. You want me to define my wild
So,
life in
because you
Perth?
say wild, my brain is going wild. Like, what could be wild in Vernon's world in space? So, tell us what you can tell us. So, when you say wild in Perth, and for those who are listening and who might find Perth boring, as you said, because they lack
Yeah.
imagination, maybe you can help us, lead us into imagination as to what does your wild world look like? If
My wild world is basically trekking off into the unknown, you know? Trekking okay, I used to listen to campus radio, and they had a reggae episode weekly, and I used to listen to it intently, and I used to take part in the competitions, and every once in a while I'd win a contest, and one of the contests would be concert to a reggae rave. Okay, So here's this little brown boy in what is, at that point in time in the 1980s, predominantly white Western Australia. And I would actually take the bus all the way into Fremantle because I lived in Rockingham, which was like 45 minutes by car. And if you take a
Mm,
bus, it's like 3 hours. And I
mm,
just go off into this, head off to this reggae rave party where I'd be this only Oriental Asian person among a sea of black and white people with reggaes and dreadlocks and blah, blah, blah. And that was fascinating. And yeah, so that would be perhaps maybe a moment of daring and wildness, and then getting to meet them and them becoming my friends, people who perhaps lived on the edge, of what was seen as acceptable. Yeah, what was seen as, conventional. Wandering into the unknown, allowing is what wild is for me, is what also very interesting is for me. Going off on a trek into a sea of humanity that is completely alien to you. So, like my first trip to Europe, I went off to Paris because I wanted to go somewhere where they didn't speak English, but I was afraid to go to Africa and other places that should have been my go-to. But I went to Paris because I thought I go to Paris because nobody speaks English there, and everything would be an adventure trying to find your way through town. And I went alone, and I spent in Paris alone by myself, and I had such a great time. So that's what wild is to me, just going into some place where you've never been before and just taking it in. So my last trip was to Kathmandu, where I did that as well, just by myself, and I made friends, and I'm still in touch with them. And yeah, so yeah, I don't know whether
nice.
that yeah.
No, perhaps what I'm getting from you is that while actually means exploring the unknown, and
Yeah.
what I also got from you is that there are two parts to that I heard. That when so if while you are willing to explore into the unknown, you said two things, right? That you were too afraid to go to Africa, but you were brave enough to go. Oh my God, to France, right? Paris. Now,
Yeah.
so and you don't speak the language, so which I think is really interesting. So, do you know? Because I think we all struggle with courage, right? Or
Hmm.
we all struggle getting into the space of unknown. And for me, that's where curiosity really is very important. So even though
Yeah.
you've not used the word curiosity, so as I was doing a bit of research, I've actually put it on LinkedIn, I think on Facebook. So it was really very interesting because curiosity is the reason or the reason why we human beings actually acquire knowledge, because we're curious to know how things work, why we are the way we are, and that actually puts us in a space where we have figured out a way not to just survive but thrive.
Yeah.
Thrive and even manage and control other living beings, because perhaps they are happy with status quo. And we know exploration means taking a little bit of risk, the way you say,
Yeah.
right? And because when you're at a space where you don't know what's going to happen and you get into trouble, you need to be ready for getting into trouble. And perhaps I'm just thinking that that's when you become creative in problem solving and getting out of it, and perhaps even coming out a bigger, better, resilient. Growth takes place in whatever shape
Yes.
or forms
Yep.
that we're
Yep.
talking about. So that's
Absolutely
what I'm
right.
getting
Yep.
from you, right? Now, but going
Fantastic.
back to the part where you were courageous and the part that you said
Hmm.
you were fearful, right? Now,
Yep.
what do you think when you are going into an unknown space? What gives you the courage to explore?
The curiosity, the like, what will I find there? Who will I meet? What will I can I taste? That kind of stuff. I don't go when I do holidays. I do very little research. And I mean, like, even when I arrived in Paris, the way I found the Louvre in Paris was completely by accident. I just took a walk down the street, and suddenly these glass pyramids, appeared, and I went, "Oh, this is the Louvre." So I didn't even know where it was, and but I just wanted to wander through. the city and see what would pop up. Yeah, so that openness, I think, is something that aids curiosity,
Mm.
and the faith that, yeah, you might trip up, yeah, you might come up against something that's risky or dangerous, but have faith even in yourself that you can solve it. I think that optimism, that belief in your own strength, is something that comes out of curiosity, and that's why I guess that optimism was allowed me to sacrifice my humility, lah. Yeah.
Without any pain, I can see. So without any pain. So I'm just going to read out what Alia has just said. She said, "This little brown boy has a DJ voice."
Wow, boy. Okay, auntie, thank you.
Ouch! Ouch! Okay, now that's because that's how you identified
Yeah, I
yourself.
did. I did identify myself. So thanks for reminding me,
So
auntie.
I'm just wondering, just sidetracking a
Yeah,
little bit. If you
yeah.
were to introduce Alia in your DJ voice, what would you say?
Good God, I don't have I met Alia? Hi, Alia, Karen. Thank you for remembering what I said about myself. Yeah, and you're putting me in a spot because I
So nice. It's nice to know that you can be put on a spot. I
all the
mean,
time,
yeah,
but I also
really.
love it. So yeah, so don't apologize. I
Nice,
like being, yeah, given spontaneous kind of things to do. Like, what
nice,
can I come
nice.
up with then? And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't come out of it. Uh, I might come out of it with egg on my face, but at least maybe there's something there to
Right.
learn, to discover about even myself. I mean, the fact that I called her auntie when she was using my own words, then reminds me to, okay, you didn't hear what you said, and you didn't notice she had put in inverted commas, right? So sorry, Alia. I promise I won't call you auntie when I meet you, but you can call me little brown boy any day.
Nice one. Do you know Perth Pal?
No, I don't know. Oh, Perth, pal. We were
Because
talking about Perth.
with Perth, he came by,
Yeah,
right? Because you mentioned Perth. So if you
right,
don't know Perth Pal, he's a very, very famous Malaysian author. So he's saying,
right.
wandering aimlessly takes courage and a dash of faith. So he's
Yeah, it
echoing
does.
what you said. And Alia is reminding you that y'all met, on
Oh,
Clubhouse.
okay, on Clubhouse lah. So not
But
personally,
she
personally, but
probably
yes,
was
still.
just there listening to your voice and getting carried away. It's like, wow, such a good voice. And I don't know whether she remembers the content, but I suppose she got the content, otherwise she wouldn't have been here because you've always had great content. Now let's go back to Curious and
You're too
Courage.
kind. Okay,
You're
courage.
welcome. You're welcome, Vernon. So now you spoke about courage and how openness and optimism probably gives you the courage to have the explorer mindset and try new things and be curious about it and willing to take perhaps calculated risk that
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
have faith and because you're optimistic and because you're open to whatever that might happen
yeah,
and you
yeah,
can get out of it right now. So
yeah.
that's the part, right? But I'm very curious to now find out, when does fear take over? At which point, or what are some things that, like you said, you didn't want to go to Africa because there was a bit of a fear, right? Right. So I'm sure you've done a lot of things out of curiosity. I'm very sure
Yeah,
about that because we're going to talk about your career shortly. But there are paths that you had chosen not to take
yeah,
because something was stopping you, right?
yeah,
Perhaps
yeah.
what I'll call fear. So,
Okay,
what? So, if you recall some things that you've not done because of fear, right? Uh,
okay.
what what are you fearful of? What had stopped you?
I think the fear of not meeting up to my own expectations, you know,
Mm.
um, like for instance, when yeah, I that fear of not meeting up to my own expectations, but otherwise, everything to me is a wonderful challenge that I want to rise to.
Mm.
So the in Mont Chiara, at Republica, when they were doing the concrete floor of the concourse area, and they approached various people to give quotes that they could embed into the concrete. So I was asked to give two quotes, and I came up with one quote, which actually is a mantra for my life, which is I'd rather be fearless than brave, because fearlessness, in a way, is the absence of fearlessness is the absence of fear. Yeah, and whereas brave, brings up the idea that there is fear. So the quote was, I'd rather be fearless than
Nice.
brave. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So, because when you're brave, you are overcoming a fear. When you're fearless,
Yes.
you don't even
Yeah.
know
You
what
don't care.
it feels like.
Yeah.
You
You're
don't even
just
know what it
thinking.
feels
Yeah. You're just thinking of what's ahead. What you're just thinking of. I can do this. I can do this. I will do this. I can do this. Whereas when you're fearful, then maybe it might tie your mind and imagination into knots. So then you don't do the best thing or the right thing or the thing that fits with you, I think.
it it sounds to me when I love the two words, by the way. Thank you very much, because
Which,
in the work that I do, that
yeah,
we talk a lot about being brave, because
right.
when you're
Yeah.
vulnerable, you have fear of all sorts of rejected, non-accepted
Yes. Yeah.
fear, right?
Yeah.
And that you need to brave. And when we talk about being brave is actually not absence of fear, but overcoming and going through
Overcoming. Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just going
Yeah. Yeah.
through the fear. That
Absolutely
means
right. Yeah.
I have fear of the darkness, and it's just
Hmm.
saying I'm just going to do it anyway, and then coming
Yeah.
out, hopefully, then becoming brave, knowing that you had survived it or overcome it,
Yeah.
and you can do it again. Whereas what you're saying is that you see it's dark and you accept darkness as is, and you're very present, just exploring every moment to whatever life is going to offer you, because you know that as you explore, there might be some good stuff coming and there might be some danger, but you're
Yeah.
also saying to yourself, you know what, I can hack this, I can come out of this, because you're optimistic about it. So that
Yeah.
sounds like the power of now. It sounds like, how, we are all talking about mindfulness and being present. It sounds to me like you are ever present in your own life.
Yeah. It's great that you read that. Just one thing that, as you were speaking, it reminded me of, like, when I traveled. One of the things that my big brother had taught me was that he said, if you see somebody who's threatening, ask them to help you. You know,
Ah,
I don't know how it came out, lah, but this is a big brother advice that came out when I was a child. Okay, so this whole idea of, like, if you feel threatened, become
nice.
vulnerable to them, right? So when I travel and I feel fear from, let's say, a passing stranger, and I think he's going to mug me, then I might call out and say, do you have the time, or do you know where the train station is, kind of thing. And immediately that throws, I think it might throw the dynamics or his intention into a weird kind of situation where suddenly he has to respond to me and help me, and therefore he may not, harm me. So I don't know. I mean, but it made me think of that when you were saying, yeah, about how we push away stuff that frightens us or threatens to harm us. But actually, what we should do is reach out and say, tell me your problem. How can I make things better for you? Because maybe you
Nice.
want to harm me because, yeah. I don't know whether that makes sense, but
No, you made a lot of EQ sense, by the way. I
okay.
think from my work, because I think your brother's brilliant, right? Don't know whether he's more brilliant
Yeah,
than
he
you.
is. He was the best big brother I ever had, and I'll
Yeah,
say that publicly.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
Joseph Adrian Emuang Jr. He's now a grandfather of two sons, and he's got four kids. And yeah, my nephews and nieces, beautiful wife, beautiful home. So I'm very proud of him. I'm proud of all my brothers. I think, yeah, if I may
Nice,
say, yeah,
nice.
I'm happy that my late parents, left me good, in good arms, the arms of my family. So yeah.
nice, nice. So I just wanted to just add on to what you have actually said. I think when if someone really wants to harm you, they need to get into a state of disconnection with you as a human. And when you ask for help, and if I choose to even help you, I need to connect as a
Yeah.
human with you first.
Yeah.
And when I choose to help you, to even listen to you or to help you, you have just evoked the compassion in me.
Yeah.
And when you're compassionate, it's very difficult to hurt because you've evoked the
Yeah.
compassion that resides in that person. And so the
Yeah.
person has to discard the old program that was running, which is to disconnect. Because
Yeah.
one of the studies that I read about child abuse is that when parents
Hmm.
physically abuse their child, they don't see the child, they see the
Yeah.
object of
Yes.
expression
Yes.
of their anger, right? And it's not
Yeah.
that they don't love them. So what you're doing, what your brother taught you beautifully, is to evoke love in whoever that person whom you think might harm. And I think that's fantastic, right? Because I think that's where, that's a creative part about, how to deal
Yeah.
with a difficult situation. But
Yes.
at some level there has been some curiosity planted in either your brother's head, for him to say, what makes a human behave so inhumanly, and how can I counter it, it seemed to be the magic formula he's passed on to you. So yes, thank you to your brother. I want to just read out what Perthpal is saying, and you may want to add on to that. He said, one may be brave yet not daring. Now I have to look up the you're an English teacher, so can you now tell us the difference between brave and daring? While so as you think about it, I'm just going to read Alia's a comment which says exactly Perth passing, and she says, fancy calling me auntie. I'll say it in Alia's voice. Fancy calling me auntie, some would ask Manadaya. Okay, so that's right. And GD thinks surprisingly it's a blue Friday because you and I are matched, I believe, but we're not feeling blue, I hope. We're hoping to color the world with curiosity and creativity. So with that, so is there a difference between brave and daring, and how does
Alert
that?
from iPhone software up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go. Brave and
The
daring.
difference between brave and daring. Yeah, I mean, like, daring is a fearlessness. Yeah, and brave is about overcoming a fear.
Okay, nice.
So yeah. Mm. So
Okay,
I agree with Patpal. Thank you,
you
sir.
agree with that.
I'll look
Yeah.
out for your books.
Oh, yeah. He wrote an amazing book, but no, we're not going to talk about him now,
Okay.
even though he's interesting.
He'll
To
have his
talk.
own show.
Huh? He has his
He'll
own
have.
show. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to say yes to my show, but then I've been waiting for months. Like this guy is too busy and doesn't pay attention to me. But let's pay attention to you because you've paid attention to me. Let's move on. I'm still curious about you. So tell me, where has curiosity taken you? So tell me, give me two extreme examples of where curiosity has led you to a space of uh, closer to who you are, your identity, and maybe the opposite if there is. So let's look at a positive example where you were curious and you found yourself, you found your identity, you found what it means to be, Vernon, Adrian,
Emuang, yeah.
Emo.
I, I, if I might share, there was that. What happens is, I worked in the creative field in marketing communications. I was a copywriter and became an advertising creative director. And usually we're given briefs where we are not, where it's for target customers that live completely different lives from what I know. And so curiosity needed to be the driver of whatever campaigns, creative campaigns I needed to come up with to land for the client. And therefore I'd have to assume the mindset of their targets. So I remember working on a cooking oil campaign, advertising for a cooking oil campaign, and I basically immersed myself in becoming a 35 to 45-year-old Chinese housewife. You know, went to the wet market, asked around, listened to the music, blah blah blah, and And then I spoke to my Chinese copywriter, whom I then could understand better from what she was telling me about what the customers were, because they were much closer to her culturally, linguistically, and all that. And that helped. So that constant, like, what is that person like, etc., helped me to help my agency win a big advertising um, campaign. And I'm very proud of it because it's so outside of my realm. Um, but I can even sing the Hoi Wong Chi Choi, Hoi Wong Chi Choi Sap Fan Ho Sik. So I can even sing that even though I don't speak Cantonese. Yeah. So that was one curiosity. You are muted. Ah.
I was wondering whether you're going to sing it nicely for us.
Yeah. So that was one aspect of curiosity. The other was when I was hunted down by um, an event company to work on the launch of the Petronas Twin Towers, and it was to be creative director of concept of the 1999 extravaganza launch of the Petronas Twin Towers.
Right.
And even though I was a creative director of an ad agency and I was doing product launches, this
Mm,
felt too big for me. So I actually turned down the company 3 times.
mm,
But for some reason, they kept hounding me. And eventually, they cornered me. And the guy said, the guy Michael Gomez, who runs it, he said to me, you've turned us down 3 times. um, you've been so, because I was concerned for them, so I gave them names of people I thought could do it. I even wrote a little bit of a concept paper just to get them off my back, because they were nice enough to want to. So then he said to me, "We think you're the right person. Why don't you want to do it?" So I said, "I have no experience, launching the two tallest towers in the world." And he looked at me and he said, "Vernon, do you think anybody has the experience of launching the two tallest towers in the world? Why don't you make it yours?" And from that day onwards, I tell you, I have been more gung ho than I've ever been. I mean, I was already quite, optimistic, but this one, like, yeah, make it yours, make that experience yours, and it's experiences that bring value to life. It's meeting new people, it's experiencing tastes and sensations and landscapes, etc.
nice,
And yeah, so that curiosity to me eventually, I realized that it was like asking the question, why not? Why not me? Why not there? Why not that person? That conversation between you and yourself, and then between you and that other person, is what actually moves life, your life, our lives forward. The questioning, the conversations, because conversations need to begin with questions like, how are you? And then, like, you like blue. Why are you wearing blue? And then you'll tell me a story that will maybe make my heart sing. And that and then an exchange happens and it's beautiful. Yeah. So like that.
Wow, wait, you give me so much now. I have to summarize, got problem, leh. So
Ah,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I got problem because I need to think. Did I listen to Vernon well enough? Okay, so a couple of things I'm picking up, right? So from your
Right.
first story of going to the market, right? What I am recognizing is that curiosity actually gives birth to empathy.
Yes, very much so. Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and empathy is such an amazing thing to have, because what you're doing is that you're trying to not understand what does it mean to be in another person's shoe, but you're trying to walk in their shoes, be them, which means that you need to suspend your judgment, and that seemed to be what you were doing, right? Getting right into that space and say,
Yep.
I want to know how does this feel, so that I can feel and be like you without judging, right?
Yes,
Which
absolutely
then,
right. Yeah.
yeah, which then probably helps you to create what is required for the audience that you're looking for. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in any other relationship which is not work related, it is about meeting people in their space and serving their needs, and that for me is love, right? And that's what you seem to have actually done. One, now in your twin tower example, I actually loved the question that you were asked. So, and what's coming out for me is that I think if we want to be curious, I think a lot of times we ask the purpose question, why do I want to do what I want to do, right? And I think what you're doing is you're flipping that and say, why not? Because then the
Yeah.
why not then leads to curiosity. It also leads to fearlessness, right? Because then I become daring to say, yeah, why not? What's wrong? What's the worst that can
Yeah.
happen and stuff like that is what I'm getting from you. So the idea of
Yeah.
why not question and say, why shouldn't I do it, right?
Yeah.
And
Always flip it, flip it, flip it, flip it. I think it's very
so
important.
that's what you seem to be doing naturally. You flip, and I if I recall, and if probably I go back to some conversation, I think that's probably one value that I really appreciate in our conversation, because you open up a dimension that I am not looking at whenever you ask me questions or give me feedback.
Well, yeah. If you allow me to, then I will do that for you. And it's not just me. Yeah, it's anybody really. If you allow that person to come into your life and ask questions and
Mm,
maybe even provoke you,
mm,
then it gives you an opportunity to respond back, and that's what leads to something else rather than
brilliant.
going you're not, talk to the hand. Of course sometimes we need to do that. We need to do that. We need to say enough already. We need to draw boundaries. That's important, right?
Mm,
And that's by finding out our own self-talk. We talk to ourselves. We ask ourselves questions. Is
mm,
that making me so bad that I need to say talk to the hand, right? So the questioning, the curiosity needs to start, I think, with yourself first, you
mm.
know, and then move to the next person, right? Yeah.
Nice,
Does
nice.
that make sense?
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to read what Gerald is saying here, and then Alia has a question, because I can't believe it. We only have 10 minutes, and I thought we just got started. Gerald
Oh
is
dear.
saying curiosity is beneficial for learning and growing as a person, but gut instinct should tell you when it would not be beneficial
Yeah.
to delve any
Yeah.
deeper. So he's
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about gut. Do you have any reaction to that?
Yeah, I believe in gut instinct because sometimes our sensitivities don't just come down to uh, the five senses. It could also be other things, or a combination of things. So the gut instinct, is probably a response to a lot of other equations coming in, other things affecting the equation. So we need to pay attention to that. But at the same time, yeah, one has to use one's own intelligence in a manner that, yeah, is thoughtful. I mean, like, yeah, you may hurt yourself. Something bad might come out of it, but if you're just going to stand still, right? That idea that something bad might come out of it, right? Freezes the moments and freezes your life. But if you go, okay, if it comes out bad, what can I do? So then you have plan B in your head. So immediately you have contingencies and, plan B, plan C, etc. Because you've asked yourself those questions rather than simply go, talk to the hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
nice.
I don't know.
Yeah.
IMHO.
Now, I want to just talk about gut a little bit before I go to Alia's question. Because Daryl says curiosity not only kill the cat but sometimes can be dangerous too, and Alia says, "Yeah, I'm sure I can tell you quite a few." So they're talking about curiosity killing the cat, and we're going to go to Alia's question. But before I do that, my own struggle or question with gut is this, right? Because gut feelings for me is historical. It's in your
Right.
sitting in
Yeah,
your gut.
yeah, yeah. It's in high. Yeah, yeah.
And
Hindsight.
what's sitting in your gut is the total sum of your past experiences, and it's your body's intelligence of very quickly giving you awareness, physical awareness, somatic awareness as to what had happened in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really very important to listen to it, because sometimes we totally not pay attention to it. But I also think it's really important that we do what you do, which is to pause and say, okay, I know there's a warning signal, but let me
Mhm.
see where this warning is coming from,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whether
Absolutely
I
right.
have become more resourceful. I may have
Yes.
more resources than I had in the past, which
Or
is
thought I had. Yeah.
yeah, which is that why not question that you actually put up. So yeah,
Hmm.
I shouldn't have done it in the past, but is it
Hmm.
true that I still shouldn't do it? Or maybe
Hmm.
the question
Yeah.
is why not, and what might happen? Because I think that's when you might actually go into the space of instead of braving yourself and realize that your fear was actually, it didn't have, it was baseless, and maybe there is
Yeah.
no fear at all, right? So that's
Yeah.
what is coming through my mind. I'm going to ask you the question that Alia asked, which is, there's a saying, curiosity kills the cat. Have you been in a situation where your curiosity got the better of you?
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
Tell
Of
us,
course. Of
tell
course.
us, tell us the story, Vernon. Tell us a juicy
But
story.
it's not the curiosity that got the better of me. It's me not being able to handle the situation that the curiosity put me in the first place. If I had been able to handle the situation, right, then I might have surprised myself, and that would have been great. Uh, if it killed me, then I need to figure out why did it kill me, and then I grow from that. So failure and stuff like that, or even harm, we need to take lessons out of those times in our lives. It should not freeze us, into a state of paralysis where we are not going to be moving forward. So, like, curiosity among communities, if they're not curious about each other, they won't find out about each other. They'll be living in their own silos. They'll be doing their own things. They won't be as inclusive as they can be, and that is what causes a lot of problems in the world. That curiosity might not have existed in those situations. Yeah, I
Nice,
don't.
thank you.
Yeah,
No, no,
I'm
I
making this all up. I'm making
yeah,
this all up as you ask me. Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
that's how true wisdom and intelligence comes through, because you've already made it up in your system. It's just coming out now because I'm asking the
okay,
right question and Alia is
okay.
asking the right question. So it's making sense, at least in my world, because I think what I'm hearing from you is how important it is. So, whenever we say we don't want to take risk or calculated risk, it's not just asking the question, why not? Because when we ask the question, why not, we become more realistic as to whether we are resourceful now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And for
yeah.
us to also know that we don't have to punish or be anchored in a past, open inverted commas, failure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because that was our learning experience. Because what you
Yes, yeah.
also said is that, you know, um, you know, if you look, you can treat life as experience, or good and bad, or success and failure, and you've stuck
Mhm.
with what is it that I'm getting out of this experience. It might be good for
Yes.
me, it might be
Yeah,
something
yeah,
I like or
yeah,
dislike, but what is
yeah.
it that I take back that keeps you in the space of being fearless? Because you're fearless about the experience,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's the nugget that I'm getting, because very often I find that, forget about other people, I don't take a lot of risk, for sure, right? And that's because it's full of fear of many things that exist and don't exist, right? Which means that I now lose on the experience of life that life could
Yeah,
offer
yeah,
me, to
yeah,
become more
yeah,
resourceful, to be more
yeah,
skilled,
yeah,
and
yeah.
to understand and experience life actually better. So Alia is not happy, so I'm just going to give you one more chance to redeem yourself, Vernon, with Alia. She says it's a question for you. She wants a personal story from you. And I think it's you, not me.
Personal story about it's a personal story about
How
uh
curiosity has killed the cat. As to, have you got into trouble? I think being curious. Like, have you explored a space and then found yourself, in trouble, and
well,
perhaps
yeah.
pausing and saying, "I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. Yes, I have. I rose up the ranks of my career very quickly, and I went into it with a gung ho-ness, because I was curious, I guess, and thought that I can do it, but I didn't do it. I mean, I it was a time when I went into a very dark part of my life where I had a mental breakdown. So therein lies that story of how I so wanted to figure out what it was like, and then I tripped and fell flat on my face.
Mm,
Right. So, but out of that, um, I looked at it as a learning experience,
mm,
and I'm not ashamed of what happened. Um, I think it was necessary, and in the course of my work, I come up against clients who might be conservative and don't like what I've done, and that's when I fall on my face. But I also have clients who love what I done, and then we do new things together. You know,
right.
so in the not being able to convince these people, it makes me think about how perhaps I could have got them to buy the idea or to see what I saw. Because the challenge of a creative person, especially in the area of the creative industries like marketing, marketing communications, especially advertising and stuff like that, you are selling something that's worth tens of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, even before it's made. And you have to convince them to put the money into your account even before it's there. So in order to get the clients on your side is to be able to communicate with them and maybe even ask a series of questions so that you can climb into their heads and realize what their main concerns are. uh yeah, so whatever it is, curiosity is not a bad thing, but it's how we deal with it and what is the outcome of the curiosity that can either
Alert from iPhone software up.
grow that can either grow us, develop us, or maybe break us. And even when it breaks us, perhaps maybe then we need to figure out, once again, curiosity, what happened there. What happened there? I mean, Oprah and a psychologist, I can't remember his name, wrote a book recently called "What Happened to You," and it
Yes.
was yeah. The premise was, rather than ask people who are going through trauma or who's going through a bad this thing, not how are you, but ask them what happened to you, because that immediately gets them to think about how did that event affects me, and what can I do to have either prevented that event or prevented it from spiraling into something that was out of control. Because eventually it's about how we control our existence here on earth, right? That makes us happy. The more in control we feel, the better we feel. The less in control that's when we get stressed, etc., etc. So when I get stressed out, I usually take a deep breath and go, why am I stressed out? What is it that was said by that person that triggered me? Because it might be like, you pointed out earlier today how you thought I was intimidating, which I was shocked to hear. Um, and you asked yourself why, and then you said it's you. So you owned up to knowing that I am not responsible for your imagination,
Mm,
you know
right.
and but you are responsible for your own. So use that imagination to think possibilities and think beautiful thoughts, and see beauty where nobody can see beauty, or see cleverness. um, Sometimes we trip over and we do the default, which is fear. Like, oh my god, what is this going to how is it going to be bad? And and that sets off a dynamo effect. you know
Right.
dynamo effect, domino effect.
Don't worry.
A domino effect. So and so then the exchange between two people spirals into something like quite ridiculous. but but if you yeah it's so yeah, it's about checking your own emotions, figuring out perhaps maybe why are you thinking that way. And it starts with curiosity. It starts with asking yourself questions, and then asking questions about things and people around you. Yeah.
Sure.
It sounds like a lot of hard work, but I think, with stuff like this, The more you do it, the easier it gets. Like everything in life, really. Like breathing, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work.
Hard work, yeah, indeed.
A lot of
Yeah,
hard
but yeah.
because
I mean,
because
everything. Mhm.
yeah, to be open to life experiences is a lot of hard work because there's no definitive outcome and
Yeah,
certainty. And you're
yeah,
asking us to play with certainty, and curiosity leads you to that. And when we are willing to face uncertainty, we need to then get creative with whatever resources there is to get out of that. And that's where your optimism comes. So you've actually brought in a lot of, for me, stuff for us to think about, to push us to think beyond our normal, definitive answers that we are looking for, or outcomes that we are looking for, to sit with our discomfort. And because
yeah,
discomfort is where we might begin to figure ourselves out. And if we can figure ourselves out, then that probably leads us closer into the identity question as to who am I, right?
yeah,
And claim my space, because not everybody is going to like you the way you are. And for us to know that it's okay, because I own my space, because I know who I am, this is how
yeah,
I show up. And some people are going to connect with me, a lot of people are going to disconnect with me, but the world is big enough, and it is okay, is what I'm hearing from you. Which then
yeah,
brings us to what we're doing, which is being whole, being me, right? Because it is really about, are you curious enough to know who you are, to be yourself, to show up as you, and to show up as the whole person, even when people around you may not be able to accept you, validate you, or celebrate you, is what I'm actually hearing. And we hear this in minority groups, where we feel discriminated, right?
yeah,
And this
yeah,
is
yeah.
very important, because for me, even in discrimination, we need to own up to some things that we ourselves are feeling, more than
Yes,
thinking that people are
absolutely
making
right.
us
Yeah, yeah.
feel that way. So thank you, Vernon, for
Most welcome.
I think this session for me, session 40, Daryl is saying achieving the balance is key. Thanks, Malar and Vernon, for the insight. So what I'm getting from here is that I think this session needs a bit of contemplation to what you have actually said, because it's not something we can just take, but we need to sit and think with it, and deal with our own discomforts with what you are saying, what we like and what we don't like. Now that brings us to the last few minutes of rapid fire. Are you ready, Vernon?
Yeah, just before that, I want to say, when you did the video, the music, I mentioned that the music of the video was I loved it because it was a high wire balancing act music. You know, in circus, when they walk across
Right.
the wire, that's the music that your film editor, video editor chose. So it ties in with achieving the balance is key.
Thank you.
Achieving the balance is key. Yes, it is key. You know, uh, asking the question, how can I achieve the balance? It starts there. If you don't ask the question, how can I achieve the balance? Then uh, acting on achieving the balance doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
if
I'll
I
just
may.
add on and say, I need to know where my balance is. Where does balance feel for me, or how does balance feel for me? And again, that's for me an identity question. So are you ready for your rapid fire? Yeah.
Okay, I'm open to it.
Good. And we will see what experience comes out of it. Now, so I usually say, this is welcome to being whole, being me. We're going to ask you a series of rapid questions. Now, when you are not whole, finish the sentence. When I'm not whole.
I go to sleep.
Okay. And when I'm not me.
I look for people who know me so they can help me find me,
Whoa.
like
Okay.
family or friends.
Nice. Curiosity is my superpower.
Oh, I'm supposed to respond to that. Curiosity is my
Finish your
superpower.
sentence.
Sorry? The
Curiosity is my superpower. Finish the sentence.
Because it has made everything around me meaningful and enjoyable.
Nice. For me, the color of creativity is.
Is green. Is green.
Tell us
Is
more.
green. I love green. I don't know why, but I don't know. I just bought a green chair. I don't know if you go to my Facebook, you'll see I bought a green chair. and my eyes always go to what is green in Daiso.
Nice. Okay, so the color of creativity is green for Vernon. Now, Vernon, one last thing that you like to leave the audience for listening about creativity, sorry, and curiosity and creativity. One last thing that you like to leave before we say goodbye.
Everybody is creative. All For a person who doesn't think that they are creative, all they need to be is more curious.
Mm.
Curious in a kind, gentle, and compassionate way. You know, yeah, because you can be curious in an arrogant way as well. Yeah,
But
so
that's not curiosity.
that's
Okay,
yeah, it's
thank
not.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's just the rapper is a curious rapper, but the gift is not the gift of curiosity, is what I say. Because a lot of us wrap ourselves up as what we think we want to be, but beneath that the intention, is something else, is what I hear. So Vernon, thank you
yeah.
very much, and I'm sure we'll
Thank you
catch
so
up
much.
with you at the backstage and of course off the stage and in Clubhouse. Thank you very much for
Thank you so much. Made
opening
me.
our mind. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you open up mine. I mean, like, yeah. So thank you. And thank you to your
Welcome.
guests. And Alia, well, I guess I'll have to make amends soon.
Yes, I wish you
So,
all the best.
bye.
You've chosen a very
I'm gonna
interesting
die.
task. Yeah, yeah. So I wish you all the best, and may the year of the tiger be with you in making
Yeah.
amends with Alia. With that, thank you. Have a great weekend, Kong Si Fa Chai, and may the tiger bring you whatever you need. Thank you, Venan. I'll see you when I see you again. Thank you very much. As we say bye to Vernon, we've come to end of January, and next month is the month of love because Valentine's Day is in February. Next week, I have really a very interesting guest, a friend of mine who has recently become slowly blind, and how he has rebuilt his life to not just write books but become a coach. So, if you're curious, join me again next Friday at 12. And if you're still online, we're looking at shifting time, and I'm just wondering whether you will stay with me in this session if we shifted this to a Friday evening, say about 7 o'clock. Love and appreciate your feedback for those who've been supporting us regularly. So if you can give us some feedback on the timing, it'd be wonderful. With that, have a wonderful weekend. Have a nice long weekend. Kong Hi Fa Choi, and may the power of the tiger be with you. Bye.